What's good, everybody? This is Torraine Walker. Thank you for joining me tonight on Torraine Walker TV. I wanted to do a live tonight because there's a real heavy topic that's been floating around Black spaces over the past couple of days or so, and I want to give you the background of it. So just check this video out, and then we'll get right into it.
Where the lawyer at? Where the business owner at? Where your city council person at? We
You don't
abandon
even know who that
black
is.
boys and then we blame black men for poor choices in mates that they should not even have to make if we did a better job raising our boys the right way. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna call myself a man, the ultimate responsibility for reconstruction of the black community rests with me. Yes, they have a role. Yes, they have responsibility. But as a man, as a leader, to say I can't fix this shit unless she changes, that's not the definition of a man.
I don't see. I think we're on two different accords. Like, I don't think we're saying that. What I'm saying is I'm capable of being that leader, that provider. I've worked hard in my life. You get what I'm saying? I should not have to do.
You still go back to individualism.
But I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women, women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she's had to raise the kids alone. Not one woman,
So you
brother.
mean to tell me-
A whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I could look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No,
That's what I have to look forward to.
But I'm telling you, mistakes made by black men systemically gave rise to the conditions that allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children.
I am
and
not.
when I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No, I
I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent black mother and say, how many sons you got? Two? How many sons you got? Two? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother. He taking them to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with them every Saturday. He got his own kids too, but he gonna make time for you. She got masculine.
Yeah, I wanted to run that conversation because it's been really heated on social media spaces. That's Dr. Umar Johnson talking about black men and responsible black men, and his thoughts on how he feels that black men should be picking up the slack for women who don't have men who can help them raise their children. And it's been really a heated it's been a real heated conversation. You know, some brothers are saying that's something that we should do. Other brothers are saying, hell no. So what I wanted to do was create a roundtable tonight to get some brothers into the room and have a conversation about this. And joining me right now is my man, Steph. Y'all know him as Steph is dope on Twitter. He also has several other businesses, Polymath Design, and I'll let him introduce himself. So what's good, brother? How you doing?
My man, I'm doing well, bro. Thank you for the opportunity, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Holding it together, man. I'm only supporting myself right now, so I'm not in that pool just yet. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Honestly, I think the whole conversation is very interesting. And once again, thank you for bringing me on. Um, um, I think I got a lot of love for Dr. Umar, you know what I'm saying, especially as a black man. I don't agree with everything that he says. There are definitely a lot of things that I disagree with, especially in this most recent take. I would say primarily the first thing I would say is that it kind of um contradicts with something that he said earlier. One of the memes and videos that we're all very familiar with when he's like, "Hey, we love our children, but a lot of those guys on the corner, we're not going to be." He said he's not going to be able to psychologize all those guys on the corner. Some of those guys got to go to sleep for good, right? And whatever that means, however you want to take that, the essence of that is saying that, you know, a lot of the people in the community are almost beyond I mean, it's gonna sound harsh too, but beyond redemption, and not even beyond redemption, like, like, oh, you don't love them, you hate them, da 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 da. But they might have a lot of stuff going on, went through a lot, and they're actually more of a danger and detriment to the community than an asset. So whether it's putting folks to sleep for good or whatever, there's understanding that, yeah, there are certain elements in the community that are causing a lot of harm, whatever in the community, right? So there's that. What he's saying now kind of contradicts that, because it's like, hey, listen, we can do all leadership and all those things. All those things are not necessary, and I'm going to touch on that too. But if you also understand that, hey man, it's a lot of it's some guys that are out here who, it's just nothing that you're going to be able to say or do because whatever they might have experienced in life, whatever their mindset is, whatever their traumas are, whatever certain mental illnesses may be, whatever, institutionalization, whatever, like, hey, that's just what they are right now. But as far as a lot of the young boys and mentors, the first thing he was saying that kind of set off a in regards to when the young brother on the podcast started responding to what Dr. Umar was saying, he was saying like, yeah, that's the individualism. And I think that even that itself is something that needs to be discussed because yeah, like as black people, we are black people. There's a collective element, but at the same time, there is an individual element. Like there is a certain level of individualism because it's like, hey, what's the age-old quote? The quote says, "A chain is only as strong as its weakest link." Right? So that means that hey, there is a chain, there's a collective chain, but there are links in that chain that make it up. So each link has to be strong and has to be on point. So there's an individuality, there's a level of individualism there. Meaning, hey, I've got to be on point. I've got to take care of myself as a person, but I also have to take care of my family and the people that are in my immediate family and in my household, and I have to make sure that my resources and my time and my energy and my planning and my whatever are dedicated towards what I'm doing, my endeavors and my family's endeavors. So there's that. But I think that to just speak negatively against that or disregard that, like, oh, being an individual, like I don't exist. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of negative. There's that. But also too, I think the next thing is for him to say that, yeah, women have just been out here raising the raising the boys or raising the babies alone, um, as if black men collectively decided, you know what, hey, we just and at the same time, so we can't say we because for us, we were a lot younger when that narrative was really kind of coming out as far as oh black men abandon their families and their children and I feel like that narrative has kind of started to dissipate now as CDC information whatever comes out to show how active we are as fathers, but before that narrative had kind of been challenged, it was like oh like we just disappeared and black men didn't want to be fathers and we decided to abandon our households and that was just something that we wanted to do for fun and yeah like that was it. When in reality there are so many different factors involved in that. I mean, one, um, hey, I know we can all speak to the fact that we know a lot of men who want to be active fathers and aren't necessarily given the opportunity to be active fathers based on the dynamics of the relationship or whatever. And they want to be active and they want to be there, and sometimes they're not given that opportunity. There are some guys who are deadbeats and don't want to be there for their kids and aren't taking care of their kids and their responsibilities. And we don't defend those guys at all. Like there are those men who exist and we acknowledge them, and they're deadbeats who don't get any respect and should get any respect. But let's not act like there are other factors. I mean, incarceration to whatever, uh, institutional racism, and not to say you hand over all your accountability to that stuff, but there are a multitude of factors that are that might affect black men in that regard. But also, like I said, I think that he's kind of pushing dangerous narratives to get his point across. Um, in that oh like black men just abandon the community and then children and whatever else. And I don't believe that's the case. And I know for a fact that Dr. Umar is smart enough and is aware enough about what's happening and what's happened historically in America and around the world to the African diaspora and the black diaspora and black men in particular to know better than to kind of push that narrative. So I don't know. There just has to be a bit more. And sorry to kind of you know what I'm saying, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of set the foundation of kind of my thought process in that regard. Yeah.
All right. No, appreciate that, man. I want to bring in a brother who I respect immensely, brother King Randall. He has a school for black boys in Middle Georgia. King Randall, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing well, man. I'm thank you for coming in, man. I just wanted to chop it up with some brothers so we can get some understanding about some of these topics and everything. I saw both you brothers being real active on social media talking about this, so I wanted to throw the question to you. Um, what is our responsibility as decent black men? How do we take part in trying to help the people who need help in our community while also looking out for ourselves at the same time? And what does that look like being responsible?
I think looking out for ourselves is looking out for our community. I firmly believe that you can't be a true father unless you're actively involved in the community where your children have to grow up at. And if that means having to take some of my son's friends that he's hanging out with and helping them along the way too, then that's something I need to do. For example, like my son, whenever he's with his mom, well, both of my sons, when they're with their mom, there's these kids that stay next door who don't have a dad at home, but they are going to end up influencing my child eventually. And not necessarily saying that uh, I don't have any influence over my child or what have you. He don't always be staying with me. Sometimes he's staying in his mama house, and they're going to end up influencing him based off what they're learning at home. He may come back to me and say something new or start shooting a bird or saying whatever. I'm like, where you learned that from? Oh, such and such next door. He does it. No. I told his mom, I'm like, look, I'm gonna go knock on the door and go talk to the lady next door because she, doesn't isn't home often. The kids are there almost raising themselves. They're like 6, 4, and 2, and they just be there by themselves all the time. And so she'll try to watch them a little bit, but they just kind of raising themselves. And I'm just like, well, I'm gonna try and do what I can and maybe ask her, can I just pick them up sometime when I got my son or whatever like that, and help guide them and help train them because I just feel like that's just something I need to do. Because if I don't, and because it's not my responsibility, yeah, but my kids gonna end up being messed up because they hang around them all the time. It's little stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not saying everybody, need to go raise everybody's child. That's not where I am, or being nobody's stepdad. But I don't think you can just be out here in the community and just solely be, raising your kid. I mean, that's just village stuff. I watch my stepdad and the deacon from the church behind my house and the guy down the street and the truck driver across the street. Like, all of them men were like buddies in our neighborhood, but they all taught us how to do stuff. The guy down the street taught us how to brick in mailboxes, and we closed all people's garages. The deacon taught us how to cut grass. The guy down the street taught us how to grow food. Like, and they all disciplined us. They all made sure we were straight, whether they was biologically, attached to us or not. It was just village stuff. That's all I've ever seen. I ain't never seen, so many men like, oh, I don't want to deal with his kid because it ain't mine, and his mama should have chose better. But that's not that kid's fault. And my kids have to grow up in this community. So the last thing I want to do is not be affecting children that could possibly affect my child. Because that one child that I'm mentoring right now could be that one child that could shoot my kid or shoot my mom or whatever. Like, I think about stuff like that. If I could just even save one, that's what I try and do. Now, for me personally, yeah, I, take in a whole lot of kids at a time. I got 20 with me at this moment or whatever, but that's just something I enjoy doing and watching them change their lives, watching the impact that it makes on them, and just listening to the trajectory of where their lives are going, what they want to do different, the different careers they're deciding to choose. And it's making their lives better. Or even some of the kids that I got that have gone to college now, and just thinking back on where they were coming from jail, etc. I don't feel like I could just on good conscience know that that kid was reaching out to me asking for help. Oh, nah, he ain't my kid, so I ain't dealing with him. Like, this is what the conversation we was talking about today. I've had kids Instagram DM me like, can you help me because I'm just trying to stay out of trouble. Nah, you ain't my son. Like, why would I tell them that? But and I get, the sentiment for a lot of people. And I'm not saying don't hold women accountable. I mean, we know a lot of women procreate with terrible men, but they always say, I did push back a little bit earlier when they was like, oh, women just choose bad men. They be friend zoning good men. I'm like, nah, they friend zone dorks. They be out here looking for good men. We just ain't out here ejaculating in them. Trust me, the little poo poo in the project will love King Randall, but King Randall ain't finna ejaculate in her either. So she just gonna get who she can get. They be looking for good men too. The guys who be walking around talking about I'm getting put in the friend zones because you a dork. No women like you, not the good ones or the bad ones. So let's stop talking about women putting men in the friend zone that could be good for them. No, you just hot trash in general because good women, bad women, all of them want to be with a good man. All of them reaching out to the good men. You just a dork. You ain't even get no girls in high school or nothing like that. You always been a dork. So don't say women friend zoning. You just hot trash. So they go and make money or whatever and think they gonna buy women or whatever like that. Where they get put in the friend zone because they're just not a good man in general. But women looking for good men. Trust me, it's just good men are smart enough not to go and put a seed in them.
I want to ask you about that though, because that's something that's been part of the conversation for a minute now. Um, I believe that all people try to figure out what's good for them on the level that they're on, whether that's men or women. I feel like though, because some of the conversations that I've been hearing over the past couple of days is that once a particular woman makes a bad decision, then it's up to the man who may not have anything to do with that particular situation to come pick that situation up. And I personally don't think that's fair for men unless you figure out who you're dealing with, because I've seen the situation happen before where like a guy may try to come in and be a stepfather, or he might try to come in and be sort of part of a family that's already created where the father's not there, or there's no strong male figure in the household, and you end up picking up more trouble than you've got than it's worth, for lack of a better term. So how can men who want to be mentors and want to be in a child's life be able to do that? And how can they find discernment if they don't have it, and the women that they might want to do that with don't have it? And I'll throw this out to Stefan, and then I'll throw it over to you, Randall.
Honestly, I mean, somebody was talking about it yesterday, and I think this is probably the best way to do that. Um, Man, honestly, I think that listen, you may not want to be the big brother type guy who's just picking them up randomly to go to the park and go get ice cream and da 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 da. But what you can do is you can coach these kids, man. Like I think this actually kills multiple birds with one stone, right? So one, if you got a kid who's just idle and isn't doing anything, isn't working on anything, doesn't have any hobbies, doesn't have any interest, like that's a recipe for disaster right there. So you want to get them in some kind of activity, whether that be some kind of sport, football, basketball, soccer, whatever, or getting them into some kind of trade that you do as an adult. So if you used to play football back in the day, soccer back in the day, basketball back in the day, man, put together a little league team, and it provides purpose on both sides because you get to stay in line and stay in alignment with the passion that you're already doing and you already have experience and a skill in, and you get to keep those kids busy and keep them actually learning something, keep them in a skill, keep them busy, and that teaches them discipline, teaches them hard work, teaches them teamwork, teaches them social skills, teaches them how to deal with adversity if they lose. It teaches them how to work towards winning when they win. It shows them what winning looks like. So I think things like that kind of help you really provide a better framework instead of kind of framing it like, oh yeah, such and such had a bunch of baby daddies, and now you got to go pull up and be Captain Super Dad and whatever. Like, no, you ain't even got to do that, bro. Like there are realer ways to do that. And on top of that, too, man, listen, we're on the internet talking right now. I don't know where you at, T. I don't know where you at, King Randall. I'm out here in Florida. We're all in different locations, but we're having a conversation and we're putting something out there. So, one thing that I found really interesting a couple of years back was there was this white dude. He had a channel. He was like, I can't remember the name, but I'm probably gonna butcher the name. It was like things your dad should have taught you, or da 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 da. But he was teaching people how to do everything from how to put on a tie, how to change a tire, how to shave, how to do regular man stuff. So for me, it's like, man, as black men, you ain't gotta even be there physically. These kids are on their phone all the time and they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Make some valuable content that you would want to hear when you were 10, 15, 13, 17, 19, 21, because they're listening to that and that's gonna provide value whether you see it or not. So yeah, that's my spiel.
All right, King Randall, I'll throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off of what he said, literally teaching small stuff. I started out just doing 2 days a week with kids for an hour. I don't think that's no real time for anybody to just be able to teach kids how to read, because that's what I did. Like 2 days a week, I would just do book club with kids that didn't know how to read, and we developed an 86% reading comprehension rate with the program, like because the kids were learning how to read, vocabulary, reading comprehension, etc. Like that's what we were doing. And a lot of the skilled trades that I've taught many of the boys, I only taught them those trades because that's what I was taught growing up. Like I literally learned how to weld when I was 12. Like we were building grills and everything. But when I became an adult, I did not know that other kids didn't know this stuff. I'm 18 thinking that because all the boys in the neighborhood, we all did this stuff together. And my stepdad would hold Bible study with all the kids in the neighborhood, at the house and stuff. Like that's all I've ever seen. So when I get older and just see, and we stayed in the hood, like we stayed in the hood. We stayed on one of the more worst sides of town. But literally to see all that growing up and my uncles, teaching us how to ride horses and all, that's all I've ever seen. So I was dumb to the fact that this wasn't happening other places. because that's all I ever saw growing up, like for years. So that's what I try to mimic that environment that I had to be able to become who I am, and try to create better, young men from that type of blueprint. So I taught kids, changing oil, changing brakes, and just that little basic stuff, just to get them an idea of things they could do. I would go donate tools to these kids, and I don't know if Torraine remembers or how long he's been following me, but for a while I had did a tour, like going across the country. Like I was going to different cities and doing these workshops, and I was donating these tools to kids to be able to go make money in their own neighborhood. Like, go change Miss such and such oil, and go change her tire and whatever like that. Because you could make little small amounts of money from it. And I'll teach them about different YouTube videos they can watch or whatever. Like it's little small stuff. Like it's super small stuff you could teach kids how to do, and it'll open their minds up. Then just developing partnerships with businesses in your hometown. Like, I don't know like how to do construction or whatever, but 2 days ago I took the kids to a construction site. They learned how to use excavators, etc., and they were like, okay, we can get these kids jobs. Like, when they get their high school diploma, we will train them. They'll start at $15 an hour in training, and they'll move up to 20 when somebody ain't got to watch them. And this is great money for a little 18, 19-year-old to be making and still staying with their mama and can stack up their money. Like, well, this is just partnerships I'm making, and I feel like as a parent and as a mentor, one of my goals is to try and build bridges for these kids to be able to go and do what they want to do, like serve as a catalyst for them to be able to go into construction. And I've met such and such at this business, and they want to give you a job there because we made a way for you in the program. And that's something I believe in. Like, it's small stuff you could do, you just gotta want to do it. But like I said, I don't feel like you can call yourself a father. The only way I feel like you can be a father is if you are involved in a community where your child has to grow up. I cannot just solely be thinking about my kid, because the kid that I miss or tell no to helping them. And I'm not saying you got to take care of them. And by the way, I know people talk about finances with that too. It is really, to me, it's not expensive, to help a kid. Taking them to go get something to eat after school at Burger King. I mean, my God, it's $7, $7 to $10. It's little stuff like that, or buying them some clothes for the year, $200-300 at max. This is where we at. But those are sacrifices I feel like I can make, and we do it for 40, 50 kids at a time. And the kids, they're developing, their parents are developing. And by the way, we've had programs for the parents to even grow themselves, credit repair, etc. We've had coaching for the moms, to help them become better people, because I don't know how to teach a woman how to be a woman. So I've had women partners that would help the mothers of these children, to develop themselves, because we ain't just taking their kids and whatever. The parents that are willing and ready to learn how to be better parents, we have ways for them to be able to grow also, because we can't just focus on the kid, and the kid has to go back to that environment. Yeah, I do boarding. Yeah, we'll keep your kid for a long time actually, but they still got to come back to you eventually. But we want to be able to develop and mold those moms too, and for them to be able to go get a good man, and don't have to just rely on me and type stuff like that. But I think if you kind of get where I'm going with that, just, it's like you said, small stuff you could do in your communities to kind of alleviate some of the pressure of other men feeling like they have to do it. Because honestly, if it was a higher ratio of men doing this stuff, I wouldn't need to take 20 kids. I already know old dude down the street got a couple. I got a couple, and we keep it a buck. But for everybody to feel like, oh, we ain't gotta do this because these ain't our kids. These kids got to grow up, man. Your kids don't have to interact with them.
And I want to add to that too, man, because a lot of what you said was powerful in the sense of, like you said, like you had your stepdad and other men in the community, so it was kind of normal to you, and it made me think of a conversation I heard. This had to be like a year or two ago, I can't remember, but it was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was speaking to an Asian dude, and he was speaking to kind of like the Asian community, and they brought up some stats. I can't remember the exact numbers in the stats, but they were saying that um the impact that men have in their communities on the children and how they grow up is immensely positive, and you don't even have to be the father of these kids. So like you said, like you got your two sons, and they have the neighbors, and they got kids over there at the house next door. It's like, even if you're just there being a positive influence, bringing them places, showing them stuff, da 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 da, like that stuff impacts them. Just your presence has a positive impact, right? So I think that a lot of the time, I think we're overthinking that we got to go do this and do that. Just being there and being a good dude. And honestly, even sometimes, I'm sure you guys can speak to this too. Sometimes, man, a guy might not even have taught you anything, but he was just a cool presence and he was a chill dude. You know, he was a good dude, did some good stuff. And you know, you kind of want to emulate that and just be a good dude, be a cool dude, and kind of, carry on that torch. But the next thing too is that, like you said, man, a lot of these dudes are online talking about it. None of these women want good dudes and da 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 and friend zone this. And like you said, a lot of these dudes are legitimately just lame. And it's sad because part of the conversation that we haven't had is like, and listen, man, I get the red pill, black pill. I get the whole movement. I understand where a lot of the thoughts and emotions come from. I understand. But at the same time, bro, y'all don't even understand how weak it makes you sound. Because it's like, yeah, I get it. All that. Yeah, I feel you. But at the same time, it's like, bro, you got to step up and not even step up. It's like, bro, like it's hard to describe, man, but it's like there's it's like, man, I don't know, bro, like a lot of sound like you're just giving up, and you gotta go harder, bro. You gotta be better, man.
Let me respond to that real quick because here's something that I think that is missing from the conversation. Um, I truly believe, and I have stats to prove this, that there are a lot more quote unquote decent black men out here than there are negative ones. But there has been studies that say that, in environments, whether it's low income or even high income, it's like the same 10% of quote unquote sorry dudes that are making a lot of these women pregnant. It's like some of these women are sharing these same dudes, whether it's the hustler, whether it's the player, whether it's the dude who's trying to slick his way around. It's like the same group of maybe 10 dudes that's floating around different cities, putting all these babies in different women. My question is though, for dudes who are trying to live and dudes who are trying to, get through like the best way they can and consider themselves decent, they're not like, leaving babies everywhere. They're not being irresponsible fathers. They're not just being sorry. It can be seen as sort of a risk when you're trying to maybe bond with somebody and the person you're trying to bond with doesn't even have a comprehension of what a decent man looks like, and you may run into risk of doing that. So how do you protect yourself as a man if you're going to bond, if you're thinking about bonding with a particular woman and she doesn't even know what decency looks like? That's a danger.
Oh boy, yeah.
You know
That's
what?
a,
This is the good stuff.
I kind of want to answer that one actually, man. 'Cause I've been thinking about that, man. Because here's the thing. I hear the conversation about how women like Pookies and Ray Rays
And I
and
hate that. I don't know
thugs
who
and the
came up with that
gangsters.
idea. I hate that idea. It sounds like somebody from Good Times from the '70s and stuff. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm no, that whole thing is funny to me because both y'all have heard the term Chad, right?
Yeah.
So I recently found out there's a black version to Chad called Tyrone's. So apparently, all the dudes who just had sauce and are attractive and whatever, like those are the Tyrones. So yeah, like there's like tiers to this whole thing, right? But long story short, um, I think that it's not even that women like Pookies and Ray Rays and thugs and gangsters and whatever. I think that's part of it, but it's that there's a certain energy that women are attracted to, and it's like you got to be confident, and women like confident, charismatic winners, man. Like
yeah.
confident, charismatic winners. Like that's what you need to be. You need to be a confident, charismatic winner, bro. Like you don't need to be a thug. You don't need to be a basketball player. You don't need to be. You can be a nerd. You can be into anime. You can be into Dungeons and Dragons. You can be into video games and whatever you're into. But if you're confident and you're winning at life and you can communicate and you got a sense of humor, like that's what it is, bro. Like, and you can be a good dude and be yourself. You don't have to step outside of who you are and compromise your morals and who you are. But like, and just be confident, bro. Like, be a confident dude who wins and gets stuff done. Because I think women are attracted to that more than anything. And the lie that you told yourself that your jawline isn't a certain angle and you ain't at the right body fat and you not 6 feet and you ain't got a six pack and you ain't never shot nobody and you ain't got no felonies. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't got a SoundCloud. Like, listen, man, I get all that, I hear all that, and there are women who are into that. But the fact of the matter is that you don't even want the women who, if that's what they're into, you don't even want them anyway, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like there are good, wholesome, upwardly mobile, forward moving women who are into simple, chill, good dudes. And yeah, you may not see that on Twitter, but the problem is y'all are chronically online, dog. You need to go touch grass, bro. And that is the problem. And I know this is gonna sound like such cliche advice, but damn, it's real. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my piece.
Yeah,
No, no,
definitely.
no. Go ahead,
I,
bro.
yeah, I'll definitely say, piggybacking off of that point. I mean, women again just want a certain energy from men, and like I said earlier, most of the guys that be like, "Oh, I'm just getting friend zoned," and they don't like good men, they like drug dealers and stuff. You don't want the women that's interested in that stuff anyway. But no women want you at all. Like you're single. You know, like I'm just like no women want you. I've never had that issue because I could go to the projects and get one of the pookies with 6 baby daddies and stuff, and they'd be very interested or whatever like that. But again, it's because you're a dork. And you're fat, you're not in the gym, and I mean, it's just being real. Like I'm like, women like a certain style energy. Now, back to what Torraine was talking about, trying to date a woman who doesn't know what a good man looks like and how dangerous it is. It is. I've been, in a relationship before, and I've been married before, and to get with someone who does not know what a good man looks like or has ever seen a man be a man or has never seen a man operate in the way that he should, it'll become dangerous because then you'll become outside of yourself because of you're missing the mark on what type of woman that you chose. Because I believe in being equally yoked. Like, you had a full family, you ain't got no business trying to make something work with somebody who didn't have one. And if you are they willing to try and make those changes? Because you'll be sitting there for 2-3 years at a time and this person is still the same. You're going to end up turning to somebody that you didn't want to be. And that's what happened to me while I was married. I got married and I'm raised whole. I had a full family, granddaddies, uncles, whatever, and she didn't have that. She had all single women, independent, don't need no man from the grandma on down, whatever like that. But I tried to make it work and figure it out. And I got married immediately out of high school. And my family wasn't against that part. They was only against who I chose. Because I didn't mind. I was fully equipped for that. I was ready. I'd marry somebody tomorrow if I thought that was it. I don't have a problem with that. My issue was that we just weren't equally yoked, and I turned into somebody that I didn't want to be. I turned into somebody I never thought I'd turn into. Like I started cheating and all that stuff because I just wasn't there, And I'm just like I hated who I had become because I chose the wrong person, and so we had 2 kids. I'm trying to stay in it, and because we had the kids, and I'm trying to break up a home. Maybe she'll change and all that, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and I ended up almost losing my own stuff trying to build up my own, platform and all of that because I'm talking to 20 different chicks and blah, 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 blah. Like, because I'm just trying to hold that together on the back end, even though I know it's not going to work. Then get in another relationship, same thing. Stuck. You can't move forward because you're not allowed or just able to operate in your full essence as a man like how I was raised. It's like when I can't do that, I'm forced to be turned into somebody else. Like I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be cussing you out. I don't want to be doing that. I ain't never been that guy. So when I get there, like I'm like, all right, bro, this ain't it because it's getting dangerous now, and you don't understand. Just like Torraine said, that is dangerous for you to be operating and being somewhere that you ain't got no business, or you're not able to operate in your full essence. You will turn into somebody that you and the other person don't like. And what'll happen is you'll be the person on the bad end of getting the bad end of the stick because you'll be the messed up customized. They want to go online and say such and such about you and whatever. You'll get the bad end of the stick when you was just trying to be a good man from the start. But because you chose the wrong woman and wasn't choosing somebody to be equally yoked with, and you got messed up.
And that's the point. And that's the point.
Yeah.
And that's the point I was talking about is because I do believe there's definitely a need for Black men to mentor. some of these kids, men, young boys and young girls. It's just that I think you have to be just very careful who you engage in that with, because if the person you're dealing with has a bunch of negative energy, and this woman is bringing a lot of negative energy around her family, that's a lot to unpack for one man to do, to try to unpack all that stuff. And you're going back through generations of that, like you said. Sometimes that's where the danger comes in. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know what? And that's actually where I do feel some of these guys and what they're saying, like not having to take on the whole responsibility of the community, because there's a responsibility for us as men, whether we like it or not, to guide our community in the right direction and where we want it to be. Like that's just what it is. But at the same time, what are you attracting to yourself? Because think about it, right? It's like what do you it's like a prison guard, right? It's a prison guard. Like you're a prison guard, you work in a prison. Now granted, you can leave when you get off work, but at the same time, that's the environment. So you may not be a prisoner, but you in prison because that's where you work every day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, what type of environment are you putting yourself in deliberately? Granted, you might want to change and rehabilitate it and fix it up, but what are you attracting around yourself? What drama comes with that? What negativity comes with that? What attitudes and personalities, and how do you manage all that? Like there's a lot that comes with that. So I'm not gonna clown the guys who are like, nah, like I don't want to have to deal with all that, because yeah, it's a lot to deal with. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing is just like, man, look, at the end of the day, like I said, as men, we're responsible for the community, and me personally, it's a balance, because we are individuals and we're not a monolith, but we also are a collective. So the fact of the matter is that, like, yeah, yo, we as black men may be upstanding and great dudes and do good things in the community, but there are other people in our community who aren't doing so upstanding and might be doing some nefarious things. And when people look at those guys, whether I like it or not, that reflects on me. You know what I'm saying? My wife
Yep.
may be incredible, an educator, beautiful woman, God fearing, you know what I'm saying, Bible study, all that. Still know how to turn up and do her whole thing, and she's flying, she's bad and all that, you know what I'm saying? But then if you see some other women out here from our community who may not be doing the best and engaging in the best behavior and raising their kids the best way, and then that also reflects negatively on my wife and the good women in my family and my homegirls and my friends who do good things. So it's like whether we like it or not, we have to step up and do something, because not only does it reflect negatively on us potentially, but also we have children and nieces and nephews and cousins, and they are from our community and represent our community, and people in our community represent them. So how do we clean this up so that they have a better future and there's a better environment moving forward? Because it's just gotta happen. Because if we continue the way the way that things are, it's only gonna get worse. And me personally, I can't afford that. And that's what actually inspired my tweet, because it's like when you come down to it, bro, we can't be living in filth, and that's just not what I'm about. And even to what you were saying, King Rand, this is kind of off topic, but still on topic. Man, you got married right out of high school. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing about it is, so many people think that's such a crazy thing, and especially when it comes to men, especially
Yeah.
black men, they act like we out here and we want to be players for life and a big dog and da 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 da. But I was thinking to myself earlier, right? Like I was watching a random Google commercial. A girl was on a commercial, and I was like, it was a random white girl, and I was like, some white dude would probably see that girl and think, damn, she make a beautiful wife. I'm gonna marry her. Da, 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 da. And
Mhm.
all I can think to myself is, you know what? That's so funny how that's my thought process and how I know that's other guys' thought process, because society doesn't even know. Hello, we some fake romantics. Like dudes ready to get married and build a family and do that whole thing, and people don't even realize how adamant a lot of us are about that. But like that's the thing. But it's like, yo, we need the right counterparts where and we all have the same vision and want to get to the same destination, because it's important, man.
Yep. I think going to that point, um, right there. What was that last point you made just then? What was the last point?
Like kind of moving to the right, being equally yoked and moving in the same direction.
Yes. So okay. So I got married out of high school, and again, I talked about my upbringing. I had a full covering too, and people don't understand how important it is as a man to have covering and counsel. So the reason my family wasn't against the getting married part was because they knew they had already raised me to be a husband. That's all I've ever wanted to be. Like, yes, I have goals, yes, I got dreams, but I've always ever just wanted to be. I want to be somebody's husband. Like, and to his point, talking about there are a lot of men that do want this. Do understand my uncle made this point on one of his shows, and I'm not sure about the statistic fully, but I think it was like 81% of our women are single moms. And he was like, do understand that doesn't mean that there are no good men, but he was like, if 81 women in a room are screaming that ain't no good men, then of course that's all you're gonna hear regurgitated in the media, et cetera, because more women are screaming that, because the other percentage of women, they're fine, they married, they got kids or whatever. Now I did want to this because I wanted to say all that to come to this, and I wanted to ask this a question here, because it ain't that I have an issue with it. It's we get hung up on the number of kids. And we have these debates I've had with guys about how many kids to have, because I want a lot of children. Like, I want a butler. If I can have 28,000 of them, I would. But I want a lot of children. But other guys are like, well, only want one or two, most decent guys. I'm like, being real, for us to be able to keep up with Ray having 9, 10 bad kids, I can't have two. I'm gonna need to have 9. I'm gonna need to have 10 to back that, because we'll never catch up, and we still gonna end up mentoring their kids because they got 9 and we got two of our little good ones or whatever like that. But also, we don't look at how much family business, is it, how important it is as far as economics for us to have our children. Only people understand this is Indians and other races or whatever. They'll have their baby. They all be at the same house, and they end up being millionaires in such and such time, because they make way and they make room for their children. So I want to talk about that kind of, briefly, because most men I meet, either if they have children already, they got 4 baby mamas and they got 9 kids. You go to the barber shop, you got the barbers that got a whole bunch of kids and the barbers that got no kids or whatever. So and that's just any barbershop you go to. The one barber that do got kids, he got 6 of them, got 4 baby mamas. The other barbers, he got no kids, or whatever like that. But he a good, decent guy. But I'm like, dude, like, you need to have some kids. Like, I don't know, what it is nowadays, but I get, because it's hard trying to find a woman that will want kids also, because you got a whole sect of women out here that may be good. They're like, I ain't having them but 1 or 2 kids. I'm like, my dear, like.
Well, let me answer that real quick, and I throw it over to Steph. Okay. I gotta be honest, man. It's like I tell this to friends of mine. I tell this to my younger nephews and whatnot, man. The most important decision a man is going to make in his life is who you're going to procreate with, and who you're going to raise a family with, and who you're going to even partner with as a mate, for a mate, because that's the person you got to talk to in the middle of the night when nobody else is around. That's the person who you got to, like, it is a dangerous situation, especially. And that's why I always talk about, marrying a sister, because, black men, we can look at each other and have a whole conversation about, do we need to go in here or not, or do we need to go back home? Those things are real serious things that you have to really put a lot of thought into before you do that. And I get what you're saying. And I don't think a lot of women understand that men are more romantic than we are given credit for. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like we have to do our idea of romanticism is grounded in safety and what we're trying to build, because the person that we take into our household is the person who we got to look out for as a man and do that duty. Like, who are we going to defend? And am I going to be able to defend somebody who's not going to listen to me? Am I going to have to defend somebody who won't listen to a damn thing I'm saying? I got to argue all the time. And it's not about women in general, it's just about who you pick. And that's the things we have to think about. And that's why, going back to your point about, do we want to have kids? I can understand why some men are very hesitant about that, because that's a lifelong commitment, whether you're married or not. If you got 4 baby mama, that's 4 lifelong commitments you got. And you got to be very, very, very discerning about who you deal with. And I've got friends who weren't discerning, and just from being on the sidelines watching that, like an observer in a war or something, I'm like, yeah, I got to be very careful about who I choose with that. I think some men are thinking that way.
It's tough. It's tough. I promise you, I can totally understand, because you're trying to find somebody to just have kids with, and I won't say it's slim pickings. It's just where you put yourself at. Because also, I wanted to make a point earlier about just having been in a toxic, relationship or a toxic environment for so long, you almost end up craving it. Because I'll be honest, I've let good women slip through my fingers, because I'm so used to toxicity. and just not having what I was supposed to have, that it almost seemed boring to get somebody that's good and want to do this and that for you and take care of you. It's almost boring. And you ain't they don't turn you on like the girl, like your baby mama do, and she get on your nerves, or this person that get on your nerves. Like they just do it for you. It slap a little harder than the girl that's good to you and go to church and all that. Like, it's just something about it. It's just like, man, my God. But when you've been stuck in that toxic environment so long, you gotta almost train yourself to, this is not what you're supposed to have. This is not you arguing every day and arguing in front of the kids and doing this and that, and somebody who want to talk to you crazy and don't want to do this for you, or you trying to take care of them, they don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, blah blah. That you have to make sure you look at yourself in the mirror like, nah, bro, this is not what I deserve. This is not what I should be putting up with. Yes, I should be going to try and talk to that sister over there who is good and ain't got no toxic, mindset or whatever like that, who's raised in a good home. But again, it'd be like, after you've been in toxicity so long, it's almost like goodness is, it don't,
Yeah.
it don't hit.
Boring, yeah.
There's and another side of that too. The flip side of toxicity is that not so much the girl is always going to give you trouble and always going to be combative all the time. The other side of that is the quote unquote city girl who's like, she down for whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's all, you know what I mean. She ain't really giving you no problems, but she ain't giving you no sustenance either. But it's
Right.
it's Friday night. It's like 2 a.m. Ain't nothing happening. You can go over here and call and make some things shake and everything, and that becomes addictive as well, because it's like, she ain't giving me nothing, but I know I can go ahead and do what I need to do and stuff. That's a danger in itself too, because you get addicted to that too. That's something that
Yep.
men don't talk about either.
Addicted to ease, because
Yeah,
men that do get women is you get addicted to the ease, how
yeah.
easy it is to get them, and I ain't got to put up with this. I call such and such, whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's real. That's real. And look, man, I live in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Atlanta's Atlanta. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
you got down people walking around here like you can throw a rock and you can go to the store. You can go anywhere and it's everywhere, man. And I'm saying, and that can be dangerous too. Being paralyzed by that choice, it makes you not want to really settle down with nobody too. So I just want to put that out there too for just some men. There's a danger in that as well. Let me go to Steph real quick. Steph been over there chilling and nodding his head and stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, as far as having kids, I totally agree with you, man. I just had my first son, like he just turned one, a couple weeks ago. So yeah, man. But honestly, man, like I'm the youngest boy of like 14 kids from my dad. I'm only like I'm only like my mom's only child. But from my dad, I'm
Mhm.
like the youngest boy, like 14 kids. But like we were all taken care of. We all know each other. We all like very the whole nine. But when I was growing up, I told so I've known my wife since I was 13 years old, and I told her I was like, yeah, I want to have 12 kids. She was with it. She's like, yeah, let's have 12 kids, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And we actually like, bro, we just had our first child, so we're definitely not getting 12. But I want to have like like the goal is like between like 2 to 4. We're shooting for 4. So that's the goal, man. And really, I mean, I've always wanted a family. She's always wanted a family. Love kids. Our first son has been everything we could have ever wanted in a child. He is the cutest, smartest, like greatest little kid. So we definitely want to have that again. She's ready to make another child like already right now. So I'm big on that, man. Like and me personally, man, like I'm very big on that. I feel like good people should make more good people. The world needs more good people and more good human beings, man. Like that's what it's about, bro. So I'm definitely big on that, big on family. And like you said, T man, like a lot of us here are very, as men, are very romantic and kind of idealistic in how we view the world. And sometimes the options might not necessarily be the greatest, but I mean, hey, man, and but you in Atlanta, bro. You got too many options. You know what I'm saying? But I think that like you said, it can get addictive, especially a lot of the toxicity that can definitely get addictive because it's fun. It can be fun. But I think that as you get older, I mean, well, for me personally, I've always been pretty wise in the sense of like, that toxicity can be fun, but it's not sustainable,
Yep.
and that is the real thing. Like, and especially me personally, I've always been very business oriented and career oriented, and I know that my energy is very valuable, and I don't have the time or the energy to be arguing with you and be stressed out and be angry and be whatever because I got too many things and people and whatever depending on me. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I think that you find you And I saw some women talking about it, saying that like men either want like men want boring women or whatever. But I think their depiction of what boring is like, I don't know, a nun or something like that. It's like, no, like, you can still be cool and have fun and all that, but just don't be stressing me out and don't be wilding out and don't be a
Right.
negative force in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like I got a program. I'm a man. I got a program. I got a game plan. This is what it is. If you rocking with me, yo, I'm the owner of the team and the GM and the head coach. I need you to be the assistant coach, and let's make this happen and make it shake. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it's about. So I mean, hopefully I'm on topic still. But like, yeah, man,
No, no,
like
no,
that's
no.
just
It's
kind
all
of
good. It's actually
yeah, man.
that's actually a good segue into what I'm getting ready to get into next. It's getting ready to get hot. We got a few more minutes, so I'm gonna roll with this one. Um,
Mm,
on the topic of mentoring and partnership, because it's all connected to me. Um, we live in a culture right now where a lot of women have been brought up with the philosophy that they don't need a man and they don't need to listen to anything a man has to say. And if you're going to be in somebody's life, then you're there as more as like an accessory instead of somebody who's a partner. And that's something that a lot of people are dealing with. That's something a lot of men are dealing with. That's something that a lot of women are starting to realize isn't really working for them as well. And you can hear some of that chatter around when you listen to the way a lot of black women talk, that they're realizing that a lot of that philosophy did not really work for them and they're looking to partner, but it's hard for them to partner because they've been indoctrinated in this stuff for going on 2 generations now. So how do you try to build with somebody who's trying to detoxify from that and still trying to find a partners? That's an interesting thing. I'd love to get your brother's perspective on that. Let's go to Randall real quick.
Ask the main question again.
How do you partner with somebody who feels like who've been indoctrinated with this idea that they don't even need a man for anything at all?
Ooh,
Yeah, I told you it was gonna be hot in here.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you partner with somebody like that unless they're actively, trying to develop themselves. And I can be honest, for example, I've been with somebody who thought they didn't need no man, never wanted a man, never been in a relationship, and came to me and looking for that. They like, I ain't never did that, but I want to try it, and it ain't a walk in the park. It's not, it's having to unlearn a whole lot of stuff that they've done their whole life, and these ain't like talking about just breaking no easy habits. Like it's real habits. But if you see somebody like really actively trying, because I will say there are women who were not just good women, but they trying to be better. They ain't got kids, whatever like that. But they like, well, I've been living this way my whole life, but I clearly ain't that ain't working for me. So how can I be better for you? And if you see somebody that's actively trying to do that for you, then you can work with them, and especially if you're in a relationship with them, you can make it work. Will it be a challenge? Absolutely. It ain't gonna be easy. Especially if you were somebody who was raised, from a full family and stuff like that. For guys like me, yes, it's gonna be tough, but you got to be willing to it's gonna be a challenge. You got patience, and love and care. All of that is gonna come with that in regard to trying to develop a relationship with somebody who's trying to break away from how they used to live or how they used to believe about needing a man. Because like I told somebody before, you ain't gonna never hear no good man say he don't need no woman. I need mine. I need my woman all the time. And I don't even feel like I can even operate at my full essence without a woman. It's just something that she brings, a special energy that she gives, and if you're not getting that, I'm gonna look for it. Like I need my woman, and that's all I've ever seen the men in my life have. I ain't never seen no men in my life be single, and I've always seen them thrive. So I'm just like, I don't even feel like I can just be operating out here without my woman. So I be looking. I'm like, nah, come on in here so we can go and get married and have this big wedding and stuff. Cause I ain't never have one. Like all that stuff. Like cause just like you saying, we hopeless romantics. But back to the point again. It's definitely doable. You just do you got the patience? Do you want to deal with that? And do you want to see them grow? Because I think all in all, the end story, if it does happen and they do change, imagine the story to tell, imagine the testimony to give. So it's all in. Do you have the patience and do you want to put up with it?
Steph, what you got, man? I know you're a new father and everything, and you've been in your relationship. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, y'all better than me, man. When I met my wife at 14, one of the big selling points for me was that she in a household and like had a very great relationship with her father and knew how to listen to authority, and you know what I'm saying, all that. Bro, I wasn't, and I am not trying to battle with the I don't need a man, super independent. I'm not trying to battle with that and beef with that, but at the same time too, there's certain um you can't avoid certain aspects of that. But I think that you know, um really what you have to do first and foremost is, and I said it earlier too. We were speaking of it in the context of, you know, the dating attraction of like being a confident, charismatic winner. You know what I'm saying, to attract a woman. But if you want her to actually follow you, you also need to be a confident, charismatic winner because you need to have a resume of wins, right? Because like if you just a nigga who, sorry, excuse my French, if you're just a dude who's saying, "Oh yo, I'm trying to run this play," and da 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 da, and let's do this. And
Mhm.
all your plays are an episode of Keenan and Kel, and y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got no wins. You're not gonna follow you, bro. Like, you need some actual wins. You need to like a track record of like, yo, I do this. This is what I do. I'm already Gucci over here. This is my plan and my program, and I'm running it, and it's working. You can add to that and work with what I'm doing, and that doesn't mean that a woman has to sacrifice who she is and what she's building and what she's working on and what she's doing. Because at the end of the day, it's like, yo, while she's helping you build what you're doing, you can also be an asset and help her build what she's trying to build too. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yep.
that's what partnership actually is like, and it should be working together. Like that's what it's about. Like we like I have my skills and my strength, and this is what I do. You have your skills and your strengths. Add to what I'm doing. I'll add to what you're doing, and let's get out of each other's way. But it's like there's no like we had we were speaking about it a few months back, but like a lot of us are so focused on the wedding and not focused on the marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like the wedding, like it's got to be, and I ain't even talking about you, King Randall. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like have you got to have the big wedding and all that. I don't know if he dropped out or not,
I
but
think you might have dropped real quick. Yeah, let's see
oh
if we can get
oh
back.
man,
Go ahead.
yeah, but like yeah, like people are so focused on the wedding, but they're not focused on the actual marriage and the union, and that requires partnership and communication and working together and planning and resilience and patience and all that type of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So like that's really what it is, man. Like our community is so fractured, and everybody is, oh, I'm over here and I'm over there. And I said earlier, there is a level of individualism, but we need to go from independence to interdependence, right? Meaning that, yeah, you're good over there and I'm good over here, but we can be great together, right? So like I said, we don't need to be in conflict at each other's necks. We don't need to be at odds. That doesn't help anybody, right? Listen, man, I'm actually I'm about to use some low hanging fruit, but this is an example everyone will be able to relate to. Man, all the women in the community for the most part love Beyonce, right? They love Beyonce. Like Beyonce is the queen bee, right? She
Hmm.
Yep.
had her father, Matthew Knowles, an imperfect man, but a man that I still would give his flowers to and his respect to. You know what I'm saying? Like had his family, had his game plan, and made and built up his daughter and his wife, ex-wife, into great businesswomen and did that whole thing. And Beyonce, when she built up her brand and wanted to kind of separate, she who did she work with to who did she choose to manage her career? Her husband, Jay-Z, right? And this is we talking about Queen Bee here. And they partnered, they
Yep.
worked together. She follows his lead, follows his ideas, and now they're multi-billionaires. And they got three children. So she's a businesswoman, a mother, a star, like the whole nine. She's living the dream. And she also has like Randall, you were talking about how you were covered and you had a community. She's covered and she has a community, she has a team, she has a family, and that's how you build your village. Now, granted, we're not all going to be Jay-Z and Beyonce. We don't need to be.
Hmm.
You can be blue collar hove. You can drive your truck and go to work and come home, and you and your wife can be Jay-Z and Beyonce of your house, your neighborhood, and run it like that. But at the end of the day, there's big scale, small scale, however you do it. Just get out the way and work together, man. Like, so that's what it is.
Yep.
Real good, man. And then I want to wind it down with this question. I know you. I know Randall, you're doing your thing with your school in Middle Georgia. I know Steph, you got businesses you running. I work in media. How can we move some of the conversations that we've had tonight? This has been a real great conversation amongst us three brothers. how can we get some of these things that we're talking about further out into the mainstream? Because, the ratchet stuff is always going to be there. You're never going to get rid of that. So how can we have some of these conversations and move brothers like yourself and other brothers around into the public atmosphere so people can see this again? Because it's not a new thing. It's always happening every day.
I'll say, and I'm gonna have to run too because I got to get down to my students. I told them to meet me downstairs at 11. But
No doubt.
uh, I'll say, you're just gonna have to get in the water with the ratchet, I would say. Unfortunately, the way mainstream and social media work, people are attracted to drama and attracted to the nonsense. And sometimes the only way I get traction is if I go and respond to idiots on Twitter. Even though I don't care to talk to them, I don't care to listen to what they're saying. I just go in there and just argue with them for a little bit and get conversations started, and people, begin to listen and things like that. So sometimes you got to go get in the water with a little ratchet. You just get in there with your life vest on, and make sure you ain't got no baggage behind you for them to bring up, and you keep it moving. But yeah, sometimes you just got to get in the water with them to be able to have the conversations. Otherwise, their talking points is gonna keep being regurgitated all over the timeline. And if you want to see some things combat what they're saying, you got to get in the water with them. That's the only way you're gonna be able to do it. You got to face the challenge. Ain't got no time to be walking around here talking about we don't want to fight. God, you gonna have to fight. If you want the points to be brought out for real, you just gonna have to get in the water with them and battle it out. Especially if you believe your ideas are true. Your ideas are truly true. You should be able to battle it out with them and stand your ground. So sometimes, on mainstream, that's what you're gonna have to do. People are attracted to, drama, whatever like that. So fish them in, and hook, line, and sinker. Give them the truth. The truth is gonna set you free. So just give it to them, and you'll get in the water with them. But I appreciate both of you brothers. I gotta go ahead and run to my kids.
All right,
But
no
thank
doubt,
y'all so
man.
much.
Peace,
Likewise,
brother.
do your thing,
All
man.
right.
Later.
All right, Steph, what you got, brother? And then we're gonna round it down.
Yeah, man. I wish King Randall didn't have to run just now because I think I actually disagree. And I probably told you I disagree in this regard in the sense of, man, I don't even get in the water with the ratchets, man. Like the ratchets and the divestors and whoever might be pushing negative false narratives and whatever. Like, man, I don't even, for the most part, I don't even acknowledge them at all
I
because
made a
it's
video
like,
about him 2 weeks ago, and they was yelling at me for like damn it the whole 2 weeks. It was funny though.
yeah, I already know. I already that's precisely why I don't jump in the water with them, bro. Because at the end of the day, it's like what how much of an impact are you gonna have in that regard? I think that the impact that you have is one with what King Randall's doing. I think what he's doing is great. I think just even what I'm doing, I'm saying trying to be a good father and good husband and all that, and just a good black man all around. I think that's cool. Having these conversations more often, I think, is important. And also too, what really needs to happen is the highlighting of black men who are doing these things because I feel like what's happening now is that if you're a positive black man doing some positive things, they try to make it seem like you're an anomaly or something like that. In
Mm-hmm.
reality, it's a very normal thing. And I think that the way that you counteract those negative narratives is highlighting those examples of black men in the community just doing what they do, and they're not making a big show about it. There's not a big conversation or a big media push or a big whatever about it. That's just what they wake up every day and do, and that's what it is. So it's like, how do we highlight the everyday black man that is contributing positively to his community and is an asset? So that's what it's about, man. It's just being who you are, having these conversations, doing the work, and highlighting the work. And yeah, that's what it's about, man.
All right, Steph, man. Thank you for coming in tonight, man. I'm really glad to have both you brothers on here to chop it up, man. The conversation has been so poisonous on social media. I wanted to have this conversation with some brothers who are actually in the real world and doing some real work, man. So thank you so much for your time, brother.
Most definitely. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Be good.
You too.
All right, everybody. That's it for tonight. I just wanted to have this conversation and chop it up with y'all, and so you can see some brothers who are actually putting in real work. Y'all be good. Y'all have a good night. My name is Torraine Walker. Y'all have a good night. Be safe.